Welcome to the Real Estate Espresso Podcast, your morning shot of what's new in the world of real estate investing. I'm your host, Victor Menashe. Today's another AMA episode. That is, Ask Me Anything. I'd love to answer your questions, and if you have a question you think is going to be of broad interest, send it in. I'll answer it live on the air. Send your questions to victor@victorjm.com. That's victor@victorjm.com. This question comes from Magin, and he writes, I have 3 young adult sons, aged 18, 19 and a half, and 21. I'm proud to say they're all interested in investing and are all participating in the upcoming Real Estate Investor Summit in June of 22. I have no doubt that all 3 of my boys will be rock stars when it comes to investing. That being said, I'm wondering, as well connected as you are, if you could recommend some low-entry investment opportunities for young adults. Of course, they would all need to do their own due diligence. Thank you so much for your podcast. Well, Magin, this is a great question, and it's a problem that's perennially existed with no real obvious solution. How do you find an investment vehicle that's both ideal and appropriate for young investors just starting out? I can't say I have all the answers, but here's a couple of ideas. Young adults who have managed to save up $10,000 or $20,000 working summer jobs are often looking for a place to put that money to work. Frustrated by the lack of choices, many young adults will go out and buy a car and feel great about that coming-of-age purchase. Like Robert Kiyosaki has taught us over the past 23 years, they purchased a depreciating liability, not an asset. Putting money in the stock market is easy. That's what many people go out and do. They go out and get a Robinhood account, purchase an exchange-traded fund, or maybe speculate on some Tesla shares or SpaceX shares, and now they think they're getting an education in investing. The sad part is that they're not really. They're getting an education in speculating. The companies they're investing in are fairly large, and Wall Street's made it possible to securitize the company offerings into small, accessible increments for a few tens of dollars or maybe a few $100s. In the stock market, companies go through the effort of registering a security with the SEC and creating a public offering, but the expense in creating an offering that complies with all of the regulations for a registered public offering, it's about a year of work and several $1 million in fees. This is prohibitively expensive unless the enterprise value is at least above $100 million. Problem is that buying passive shares in a company that puts out a sanitized quarterly report that reads like a glossy brochure is not really an education. Main Street investing, it involves rolling up your sleeves and understanding how to create and recreate similar results. The world of real estate is a game of large numbers. The industry has not done a good job of securitizing the offerings and making them publicly available, but there have been steps in recent years that have made it easier. See, the hardest thing to do are small projects. The profits generated from these small projects are too small, and in my experience, small investments don't attract high-quality operators. To have a truly liquid investment requires you to be compliant with securities regulations, or be exempt from those securities regulations. So how about if you could find a way to design a project that could be carved up into small enough pieces that individual investors could make small, bite-sized investments that could also be liquid enough to be attractive? We're going to brainstorm a few ideas on today's show on how that might be possible. What I'm about to describe doesn't really exist, at least I don't think it does, and if it does, I haven't heard about it. But we're literally going to have a brainstorming session here on the air, and maybe you'll discover a fatal flaw in these ideas, or might stimulate some additional ideas that you could implement yourself. Imagine for a moment you could take a piece of real estate and carve it up into small enough pieces that each piece would make for an attractive investment unit. There does exist a structure for carving up real estate into smaller chunks, and that's the condo model. Condo model started out as a solution to ownership of apartments, and it's since been applied to hotel rooms. If your specific hotel room is vacant, you also need a mechanism to make the variations in nightly occupancy fair to all the owners of the hotel room units. Solution in that model has been to apply revenue sharing model across the entire pool of hotel rooms. The question is, if a hotel can be converted into condos, what else could be converted into condos? Could you, for example, take a parking lot and convert that into condos? Could you take a self-storage facility and sell individual lockers or groups of lockers as condo units? Could you take an RV park and sell individual lots as condo units? Theoretically, I would think all of these are possible. What becomes available when you convert the asset to a condo model is you separate the management of the underlying units from the operation of the asset. The operation of the asset could be set up as a revenue-sharing model just like in a condo hotel, and the condo fees would provide a mechanism for recovery of the expenses associated with the common elements in the condo corporation. Now, like I said, I don't know if this model exists or not, but if applied to institutional quality assets with an expert management team, It could provide the liquidity and the granularity of these income-producing assets that you're after. I can see this model being attractive to young adults who are just starting out in the world of investing. I can also see the model being attractive to other investors as well. Of course, it's not without overhead. Registering a condo isn't free either. But if this idea is something that you want to explore further, my suggestion would be to start with an existing asset that demonstrates strong performance and then perform a condo conversion on that particular asset. I want to thank you, Magin, for an awesome question, and maybe this idea gives you something that's worth pursuing. As you think about that, have an awesome rest of your day. Go make some great things happen. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.